Welcome to the 5-Minute English Vocabulary Podcast. My name is Herbert Lee, and I'll be your host. Now you can easily improve your vocabulary without memorizing long lists of boring words, and still develop a powerful command of English. You'll learn the origin of words, or etymology, told as easy-to-remember stories. You'll also hear some jokes, and learn some idioms as well. Welcome to Franglais, Part 1. This is a 3-part series, and we'll be introducing French words in the English language. In today's episode, we're talking about French words that came into the English language. In an earlier episode, episode 5, we talked about Yiddish words coming into English. In this episode, French words that came into English. How did French words come into the English language? Well, if you read your history, you'll remember that in 1066, there was the Normandy conquest. The Normans were French, and when they attacked and took over England, of course, it was natural that much of French vocabulary would creep into the English language. At that time, we refer to that period as Old English. New English incorporates French words, and most of our English today has a lot of French words because of it. Many common words that we use every day that we take for granted come from French. For example, government words and social class words such as revenue, authority, realm, duke, count, marquis, servant, and peasant all come from French. In government, many of the words that end in tion, such as constitution, legislation, all these words originated from the French. French words also influenced the church with words such as religion, sermon, prayer, abbey, saint, faith, pray, convent, cloister. Words from law, justice, crime, jury, pardon, indict, arrest, felon, evidence. And of course, because of the Norman conquest, it was a war, words related to war from French came into English, such as army, navy, battle, garrison, captain, sergeant, combat, and defense. And of course, the French are very fashionable, so words related to fashion, gown, robe, frock, collar, satin, crystal, diamond, coat, and embroidery. And of course, you can't talk about French without talking about French food and cooking. So words such as feast, taste, mackerel, salmon, bacon, fry, mince, plate, and goblet all come from French. And learning and medicine, we have words like paper, preface, study, logic, surgeon, anatomy, stomach, remedy, and poison. So let me give you some words that are actually from French that are used in the English language. But before I do that, let me remind you, when I spell out the words, easy to bring out a piece of paper and write down the letters so that you can easily see it. But if you really want to put it into your brain, I recommend you close your eyes, listen to the spelling, and see the letters form in your mind. You will remember them much better. And in this case, you're going to have to learn about diacritical marks or diacritics. English does not have diacritic marks, but French does. And it's a clue to show you French or other European languages, words that have been brought into the English language. So there are 4 common diacritic marks in French. When you see a line going from right to left, that is called an acute. So you have A acute, E acute, I acute, and so on. When you see the line going from left to right in a downward motion, that's called grav. E-grav, I-grav, and so on. The next one is an upside down V over a letter. We call it the little hat. It's called a circumflex. So you generally have E circumflex, I circumflex. And finally, the cedilla. Cedilla, and when I learned it in French class, they called it the little snake under the C. So you see a squiggly line under a C, that is called a cedilla. So let's get started with French words that have come into the English language. A la mode. A grave, L-A-M-O-D-E. It means fashionable. In the United States, it also describes a dessert with ice cream, as in apple pie, a la mode. In some U.S. regions, that also means cheese. In French, it just means fashionable or trendy, and it's also occasionally used as a culinary or cooking term, meaning something cooked with carrots and onions, such as beef a la mode. It can also mean in the style of or in the manner of. A la carte. A grave, L-A-C-A-R-T-E. French for according to the sheet of paper or menu card. It originally meant a list of dishes which could be specially prepared on request, so costing much more than taking whatever the host would be having in any case at his own table. Nowadays, the distinction is almost invariably one of cost only. A la carte menu items cost more than set lunch or set meal. Jane ate a la carte, and John had the set lunch. Bon Apetit. B-O-N-A-P-P-E acute, T-I-T. Literally means good appetite or enjoy the meal. Shall we eat? Bon Appetit. Bon Voyage. B-O-N-V-O-Y-A-G-E. Have a good trip. Bon Voyage, and see you next year. Cafe Olay. C-A-F-E acute. A-U-L-A-I-T. Coffee with milk, also known as white coffee. He ordered 2 Cafe Olay. So we're going to stop here for Franglais Part 1. Listen again next week for Franglais Part 2. Until then, it's Herbert Lee saying bye for now.